America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I want to get into this betting scandal, and there's so much more to get into as well, so just hang in there. 3 full hours. 3 full hours. I just want you to know where I come down, first of all, on betting. I don't believe in these, quote-unquote, state-run betting parlors, online betting. No, I like to play blackjack. I like to play poker. I like to do these other things in casinos where these things are really quite well monitored and so forth. I'm just not into the other, which probably explains why they don't advertise on this radio show, Mr. Producer. But I'm just not into it. I don't know how it's controlled. I'm sure there'd be pushback. It's not really a debate I care to have. I'll tell you what else I don't believe in. I don't believe in paying college athletes. I don't believe in that either. It changes the whole nature of sports at the college level, but it changes the whole nature of college. Well, Mark, the schools make a fortune. Well, then don't play. I mean, that's fine. But if you're really good, you'll get a payday, but I really don't like it. So in many ways now, college sports is, I guess I would say professional sports is viewed as more important than college sports, because now college sports are viewed as a way to feed professional sports. I just don't like it, even though that does happen. So I guess I'm a traditionalist, or whatever you want to call me, but I'm not comfortable with either. Now, all that said, I think the best way to start this, the New York Post here, and then we'll get to FBI Director Kash Patel, and then we'll get to the New York FBI Assistant Director Christopher Wray. But first, just to lay the foundation here, many of you watch football and baseball and basketball and hockey and UFC and all the rest. It doesn't take much to poison sports. It really doesn't. A bombshell illegal sports betting scheme involving 4 NBA teams, 4, and 4 mafia crime families, netted upwards of $7 million over 2 years, the FBI announced today, in a historic bust. Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and former NBA player Damon Jones are among those indicted, and there's been like 30 indicted, in a stunning takedown. These are 2 separate illegal gambling-related cases. 31 people, including members of the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese mafia family. Sounds like old times, Mr. Producer. And coaches and players from the Charlotte Hornets, Portland Trail Blazers, Los Angeles Lakers, and Toronto Raptors have been arrested in the scheme carried out between January 2022 and March 2024. New York City mafiosos allegedly used readily available online X-ray poker table technology to cheat victims out of millions in a years-long poker scheme. The scam involved rigged tables with LEDs, contact lenses, and barcode scanners to manipulate high-stakes games across various cities. The genius of the criminal often is really incredible. Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier was seen exiting via the back entrance following his arraignment in Orlando today. He's 31. He's accused of tipping off mobsters that he was exiting a 2023 game early with an injury, prompting them to bet over $200,000 on the unders for his prop bets that game. There's under, there's over. You're betting on a lot of things. Under and over, that could mean the score of the game, things of that sort. People bet on all kinds of stuff, like what color socks the player's going to wear. Portland Trail Blazers players, head coach Chauncey Billups allegedly leaked insider info to gamblers, identifying him as a co-conspirator number 8 in federal court documents. The scheme involved tipping a betting ring about his team's plan to tank a game against the Chicago Bulls. Wow, that's pretty heavy duty. Team's going to tank a game. Doesn't mean all the team members were even aware of it, by the way. Pretty incredible, pretty outrageous. Let's see here. Billups also faces charges in a separate scheme involving fixed poker games with the mob. So this guy Billups was involved in both schemes. A reputed mobster, Thomas Gilardo, known as Tommy Juice, has been charged in the FBI investigation in a multi-million-dollar rigged poker ring. He allegedly acted as muscle, threatening victims to pay debts from fixed games that included former NBA players. He's one of 31 people charged. 13 alleged mobsters, including the son of Gambino captain and a Bonanno crime family member, implicated in widespread gambling bust alongside NBA stars. The arrests reveal a high-stakes operation involving rigged poker games and illicit proceeds benefiting various crime families. Key figures, this is New York Post, like Angelo Ruggiero Jr. and Ernest Ernie Aiello, are among those accused. All right. I want you to hear from the FBI Director, Kash Patel. Cut 19, please. Go.
But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
And then here's Christopher Rea, New York FBI Assistant Director, cut 20, go.
3 of the named defendants are charged for their alleged roles in both schemes. This alleged illegal gambling operation hustled unwitting victims out of tens of millions of dollars and created a financial pipeline for La Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate their organized criminal activity. Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor, as alleged and as you just heard from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This alleged scheme wreaked havoc across the nation, exploiting the notoriety of some and the wallets of many to fund the Italian crime families here in New York.
All right. Well, that pretty much sums it up. For our different talk show hosts, they'd be talking about this for 3 hours and repeating themselves. We're not going to do that. There's too much going on. But the NBA has a problem. Maybe all sports has a problem, as far as I know, but certainly the NBA does. People have to have faith that these games are kosher, that they're straight, that there's no influencing going on, and it's just a massive black eye to the NBA. I don't blame the commissioner. I don't blame anybody. I'm just saying the individuals have created a huge problem, and the industry's going to have to figure out how to deal with it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. You know, sometimes I decide things on the fly here. And we always try to provide some context, certainly from my views and my opinions, but context for you, because there are things I know you've never been exposed to. The nature of the public school system, no matter your age, especially today, but generally. Many aspects of Jewish history that Jews are not familiar with. Many aspects of Christian history that Christians aren't familiar with. Same with Muslims, same with our own history, American history. And I want to talk to you briefly. I've mentioned this place many times on this program. About Shiloh. It's spelled Shiloh, S-H-I-L-O-H. I can assure you that the vast majority of people in the United States, politicians as well, who say that Israel will never annex the West Bank, have no idea what's taking place in the West Bank. And would also say this: Israel will do whatever it chooses to do. Maybe not now. Timing could be bad. Maybe not with our current president or vice president. You're talking about an area of the world, people, holy sites that are 4,000 years old. The fight the president talks about that's 3,000 years old predates anything called a Palestinian. That name was invented in 1965 by Arafat, an Egyptian. What he's talking about, I believe, is the attacks on the Jews by the Babylonians, by the Persians who were not Arabs, by the Romans who were not Arabs, and so forth and so on. What's been going on for 3,000 years, probably longer, is the effort to exterminate the Jews. That's what's been going on. There's not been a battle between the Israelis and Hamas, or the Israelis and the Palestinian Authority. They never existed. They're not in your Bible. They're not in the Quran. They're nowhere. They're a concoction. But I want to get into this a little bit because you're going to hear people say that the Israelis will not annex Judea and Samaria, which they call the West Bank. The timing on this was really problematic, and it wasn't the conservatives, the Likud party, that brought this up to vote on this. It was the left. The left in the Knesset. They did that to try and create a wedge between the prime minister and the more conservative parties, Likud and others, and the administration, which says you're not going to annex, quote unquote, the West Bank on our watch. But the Jews in the Middle East know something, like the Chinese in Far East Asia know something. The world doesn't begin and end in a period of a few years, a period of a few decades, or a period of a few centuries. If Judea and Samaria don't belong to the Jews, who does it belong to? Now, we are very mindful of our own boundaries and borders. We're very mindful of our own sovereignty. We would never tolerate another country, a group of countries, telling us, for instance, Hawaii doesn't belong to you. Why did you annex Hawaii? The Puerto Rico is a territory that doesn't belong to you. You just grabbed it. Right? We'd say, why don't you go screw yourself? In fact, we talk about acquiring Greenland. Greenland's never been ours. We don't have any historical connection to Greenland at all, but it's a national security issue, isn't it? Panama has never been ours, but we built the Panama Canal there, right? What about Guam? We won Guam in World War II. Does that belong to us? And I go down the line, and I only do this to apply the logic to us and to other countries. Right? That's why you have movements in this country, mostly radical left-wing movements, mostly racist movements, that say the United States altogether doesn't belong to the white Europeans who came here, whether it's the Vikings or whether it's Columbus or whatever it is, that there were people who were here before, and even before the Native Americans, Indians. People talk about the Aztecs or people related to the Aztecs from Central America. I don't have any idea. I don't really care. This is America, and that's the way it's going to be, right? There's not a single Arab country that has a claim to Judea or Samaria. None. The Palestinians make a claim to it, and their claim is a joke. It's a lie. Make it a little louder, Mr. Producer. All right, we'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Take the survey on America's future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
The only show with a warning label for liberals. The Mark Levin Show. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
Some of our history here, ladies and gentlemen, all of ours, goes way, way back. This is from Chabad.org. Chabad.org. When the Israelites settled the land during the days of Joshua, Shiloh was chosen as the site for the tabernacle that traversed the desert for 40 years. There, the temporary boards that surrounded the structure were replaced with stone walls, giving the building a degree of permanence. The only other place that the house of God and the Holy Ark ever enjoyed this degree of stability was in Jerusalem. It's evident from several of the biblical narratives that Shiloh served as a national location. Its centrality cannot be overstated. Here are some examples. When the Israelites met to apportion the land for the 7 remaining tribes, they gathered at Shiloh. It was Shiloh that the Levites came to demand their assigned cities. The tribes of Gad and Reuben departed from Shiloh to their territory on the eastern side of the Jordan. When the Israelites sent a delegation to confront the tribes of Gad and Reuben for establishing a grand altar by the Jordan, the group left from Shiloh. These and similar events occurred during the early years of the Israelite settlement in the land. You're talking about thousands and thousands of years ago. Skipping forward several hundred years, Eli the high priest served with distinction in Shiloh as a spiritual leader for the Israelites. People traveled significant distances to make their pilgrimage to Shiloh, which is how we famously encounter Elkanah and Hannah. Hannah's heartfelt prayer for offspring at the Temple of Shiloh is one of the most famous ever uttered. The son she was finally blessed with, who grew up to become the great prophet Samuel, now those of you who read the Bible, you know who Samuel is, was brought to Shiloh as a child raised there by Eli. It was from the Temple of Shiloh that the Ark of the Covenant was carried into war against the Philistines, who captured it. When the word of the ark's capture was brought back to Eli in Shiloh, he fell back off his chair and he died. Some claim to have identified the exact spot where Eli would sit and where he met his death. The departure of the ark from Shiloh was highly significant, as it did not return home from around 60 years, when David brought it to Jerusalem. David would become King David. Even generations after the temple at Shiloh no longer stood, the city continued to be associated with significant historical events. The prophet Achiah of Shiloh warned that the kingdom ruled by Solomon, that would be King David's son, now King Solomon, would be split into 2. He was the key prophet when the kingdom of Israel split from the kingdom of Judah, and vociferously condemned the idol worship that was rampant at the time. The book of Jeremiah tells of the murder of a delegation to the Jewish leader of Judea, Gedaliah ben Achaman, after the Babylonian conquest, some of whom were from Shiloh. We also read how Jeremiah, descendant of Eli, greatly lamented the destruction at Shiloh, an event clearly seared in the nation's memory. Many hundreds of years later, the Talmudic era, Shiloh hosted a house of study, and the Talmudic literature cites the conduct and teachings of the Shilonites, the people who lived at Shiloh. Even centuries after, there had been a temple there. The halo of holiness remained. This is how we may understand the report from the illustrious Rabbi Joshua ben Gorsha, a leading 2nd century sage, who cited the words of an elder. Quote, "Once I went to Shiloh, where I smelled the aroma of incense from the temple, which had stood 1,000 years earlier, emanating from its walls." This is ancient history. So what happened to Shiloh, one of the most important places in Jewish history? And where is Shiloh, Mr. Producer? It's in Samaria. What we Westerners call the West Bank. The West Bank of what? The West Bank of Jordan? Let me continue. But why are we not told what occurred? What happened to this city? After all, this was a place of immense sacredness for the better part of 4 centuries. Indeed, the termination of Shiloh led to 60 years in which the Holy Ark of the Covenant lacked a proper home. The Ark of the Covenant, those of you who've watched movies, you at least know that. Lacked a proper home, and the Israelites lacked a true national place of worship. The loss of Shiloh was massive, yet we're left guessing what happened. Shouldn't we be informed about an event of such magnitude? Perhaps even more difficult to understand is why there's no day of commemoration or mourning for the loss of the temple at Shiloh. Each year on the 9th of Av, the Jewish people have a fast to observe the destruction of the two holy temples in Jerusalem. The 9th of Av is the saddest day on the Jewish calendar, during which Jews sit on the ground and weep, mourn the falling of Jerusalem and the demolition of God's sanctuary. So what is the day that we mark the destruction of the temple in Shiloh, if they're standing for an entire 369 years? There isn't one. Why? There should be. It'd be nice if there was a simple answer to how and why this happened. Some take the view that if the Bible doesn't state that the temple in Shiloh was destroyed, it suggests it wasn't. So what happened? We know from the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel, that the Ark of the Covenant was taken into a decisive battle and captured by the Philistines. If the Ark was removed, it's reasonable to say the temple was taken apart and reestablished elsewhere. According to this view, the temple in Shiloh was never destroyed but dismantled. Another view is the temple was destroyed, but not through an act of violence by the Philistines. Rather, as the ark was captured and the temple was defiled, it lost its sanctity. It then became permissible for people to use the materials from the structure for their own mundane purposes. The most common rabbinic view is that the temple in Shiloh was indeed destroyed. These sources refer to the destruction of Shiloh in the same vein that they refer to the destruction of the temples in Jerusalem. Some go so far as to claim explicitly the temple was burned to the ground, as were the temples in Jerusalem. And recently, archaeologists found evidence of a terrible fire in Shiloh around the time the temple stood, which fits the narrative that it was attacked. From the words of the prophet Jeremiah, scorned to Eli, the high priest, the religious leader who presided over the sanctuary in Shiloh for 40 years, it seems clear something rather bad was involved in Shiloh's demise. And warning about the looming fate of Jerusalem, he has these stern words of caution, quote, "For go now to my place that is in Shiloh, where I caused my name to rest at first, and see what I did to it because of the wickedness of my people Israel." Likewise, the book of Psalms hints at dark times when God abandoned his dwelling in Shiloh, quote, unquote. The psalmist portrays an occasional replete with swords, fire, and loss. It certainly gives the impression that something terrible happened. The Talmudic literature, likewise, makes several references to the destruction of Shiloh. The Rebbe, the great Chabad rabbi, offers a key insight that helps greatly in unraveling this mystery. It draws an important distinction between the houses of God in Shiloh and Jerusalem. The structures in Jerusalem were temples, whereas Shiloh and the portable sanctuary the Israelites had during their sojourn in the desert were tabernacles. While the temples in Jerusalem are repeatedly referred to as house, a house. The place of worship erected in Shiloh is described as a tent, a tent. Similarly, the Bible calls the portable sanctuary in the desert a tent, no less than 106 times. What's the difference? Turns out the distinction is significant. Temple, like a house, is designed to be permanent. A tabernacle, like a tent, is inherently intended to be temporary. House would only be destroyed if something went terribly wrong. A tent, on the other hand, would be taken down when it's no longer used. When a house is taken down, it's a big deal. When a tent gets taken down, it's nothing significant, because it was never meant to be permanent. That, says the Rebbe, is why the reason given for the destruction of the temples in Jerusalem was because of our sins, and due to the sins of Israel. Without a clear reason, a permanent structure would be expected to remain standing. If instead it was destroyed, this calls for an explanation. On the other hand, the tabernacle in Shiloh came down does not demand an explanation, as it was only ever intended to stand on a temporary basis, and it goes on. Tremendous. The history goes on. Now, why am I reading this to you? Why is Mark reading this to you tonight? Because we've had declarations made by our president, our secretary of state, and our vice president involving this part of the world. Judea and Samaria. Judea and Samaria are crucially important to the people of the Jewish faith. And they're also crucially important to the people of the Christian faith, because out of the Jewish faith grew the Christian faith. If there had been no Shiloh, there would have been no Judaism. If there had been no Jerusalem, there would have been no Judaism. And so who does this area belong to? Why do we keep calling it the West Bank? The West Bank of what? In 1948, after that area of the world was divided by the British, Israel was attacked by the surrounding Arab nations that would not accept the existence of the Jewish state. And yet, the Jewish people are mentioned in the Bible thousands of years ago that this is their home. Who declared it their home, Mr. Producer? God Himself. God Himself. Who's buried in Israel? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The matriarchs, too. You go to Israel today, you will see these holy sites. You will see this holy land. You will see Shiloh. The Palestinians say that Shiloh belongs to them. In 1948, the Jordanians, among the countries, the Arab countries that attacked Israel, took Judea and Samaria from the Jewish people. Took it militarily. Called it the West Bank of Jordan, Transjordan. And since 1948, it's been called the West Bank. American politicians called the West Bank. Republicans and Democrats called the West Bank. The West Bank of Jordan, like it all began in 1948. Really the most ancient area, one of them certainly on the face of the earth, where we can actually track back who was where and when. Now, timing's everything. There's no question about that. Things can't be changed with a snap of a finger or just a vote of a legislature and so forth and so on. I understand that. It's a dicey situation now. The president's trying to enforce his peace deal. It won't work, I think, unless they destroy Hamas, but that's just one man's opinion. And they argue they're working towards that. That's a good thing. And so I encourage it. I support it. I celebrate it. But whether it's the president, the vice president, the secretary of state, whether it's the leader of any Western country or the monarch or the military dictator of any Arab country or Muslim country, you declare that Israel will not annex Judea and Samaria. Read the Bible. How do you annex land that's always belonged to you? What does that mean to annex it? It's a weird word, in my view. Just one man's opinion. Very weird. When we can trace back that this is the ancestral homeland of the Jews. Not just in the Bible, but in man's history. The physical evidence there, the written evidence is there, it's all there. So while this is a bad time to push that issue, I agree with that. Bad time. The fact is that one day it will happen. In the Jewish faith and the Christian faith. And these other countries have no claim to it whatsoever. Zero. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. So a reporter asked Caroline Levitt today the president's affinity for building things and his support of Israel. Will he be building the third temple? That's funny. I just wanted to give you folks some historical perspective. We're not just talking about a piece of land, commercial land, a developed land, and that sort of thing. Gaza belonged to the Jews. They gave it to the Palestinians in recent history, and you see what's happened to that. And so, if you haven't been to Israel, I would encourage you to do it one day. It's very spiritual. You don't have to be a fundamentalist. You don't have to even be a believer. But I think you're going to find it both incredible from a religious perspective and a historical perspective. And it brings to life what you've heard or what you've read. It brings it to life because it's real. It's the real deal. And that's why those people aren't going anywhere. They've been chased out many times. We talked about the Temple Mount. That one location right there in Jerusalem, the holiest site for the Jews. That's where the first temple was built and the second temple was built. The second temple, as you know, was destroyed by the Romans. They estimate over 1 million Jews were murdered. Many of them, thousands of them, were killed as Jesus was killed on a cross, with their hands and feet nailed to the wood. And the stories are it was so bad that they literally ran out of trees. But people were slaughtered in the most horrendous ways. Like ISIS slaughters people, the Romans were brutal. And while they were out, the Jews forced out, you know, there was Judaism, Christianity, then the third religion, Islam. And they built their temple on the holiest site of the Jews for a reason. And we talk about that today. So really the Jewish people have been pretty restrained in what they've been doing and what's been done to them. Christian people more so, even with Bethlehem now being taken over by the Palestinians, the birthplace of Jesus. Which really upsets me, and I'm not Christian, but it upsets me a lot. And I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. The debate last night with Cuomo, Sliwa, Mamdani. Mamdani got his ass kicked, quite frankly. Now, we can't play all of it, although that would be entertaining. But we will play a little. And, Curtis Sliwa is a good man. He's a good man. He's a great debater. He knows the issues. He's a street guy. He'd be a great mayor. This guy Mamdani, I don't know how much more I can say about him that exposes what kind of a lowlife he actually is in every respect. So here he is at the debate. Let's start with cut 13, Mr. Producer. Go.
We first just heard from the Republican candidate for mayor, and then we heard from Donald Trump's puppet himself, Andrew Cuomo. You could turn on TV any day of the week, and you will hear Donald Trump share that his pick for mayor is Andrew Cuomo. And he wants Andrew Cuomo.
When you listen to him, I want you to understand this is what he does. This guy has nothing substantive to say. They give him clever one-liners. He's a sloganeer, and this is typical of Marxists, typical of fascists. It just is. And he'll play this game. He'll be very, very crafty, very, very slippery the way he does these things. And but he won't be substantive at all. Now, you all know Trump doesn't like Cuomo. He doesn't like him. That they were at each other's throats for many years. But he hates Mamdani. He's a communist, as Trump puts it. He's a Marxist Islamist, as Mark puts it. And he's saying, look, I don't like Cuomo, but somebody's got to beat him, so he says he wants Cuomo. But that's the truth. Go ahead.
Not because it will be good for New Yorkers, but because it will be good for him. Look, Donald Trump ran on 3 promises. He ran on creating the single largest deportation force in American history. He ran on going after his political enemies, and he ran on lowering the cost of living.
He did not run on going after his political enemies. So that's a lie. We're the biggest deportation force. He talked about the need to deport all these illegal aliens. Yes. Go ahead.
To me, about the third piece of that agenda, I will always be ready and willing. But if he wants to talk about how to pursue the first and second piece of that agenda at the expense of New Yorkers, I will fight him every single step of the way.
But you haven't explained a thing. Other than you're going to fight. This guy never passed one piece of legislation when he was in the assembly in New York. In fact, he was absent. He was AWOL for a significant period of time. And it's not because he was busy trying to put food on the table and working in the private sector. He didn't do that either. This is probably the least substantively experienced person to ever see a shot of being mayor of New York. Guy's literally done nothing except spew Marxist, Islamist, revolutionary propaganda. That's it. He's done nothing. Literally nothing. Those of you who have a small business, would you hire him to manage your store? Those of you who are customers, would you go to him for advice on anything? Of course not. Cut 14, go.
There was reference to the 3 housing-related charter amendment questions. I know Mr. Cuomo is on the record as saying he favors them. We just heard Mr. Sliwa say that he's against them. Where do you stand on those?
I'm appreciative that those measures will be on the ballot and that New Yorkers will be able to cast their votes for them. I know that we desperately need to build more housing in this city, and I also know that the jobs we create in the building of that housing should be good jobs as well.
What a political answer. What is your opinion, Zohran?
Yes or no?
Come on.
Yes or no?
What is your opinion? Yes or no, Zohran?
True.
Don't be a politician here.
I got it. They're pointing out what I was about to. Please answer the question.
No, I think on the stage you can see 2 people appealing for the Republican Party's votes.
Answer the question. Answer the question for once. My question to you was, do you support the 3 ballot amendment questions?
I have not yet taken a position on those ballot amendment questions.
Oh, what a shocker. All right. What a shocker. We're going to move on. Don't worry, once he takes it, he'll change it anyway.
Apparently Cuomo was in good form. Sliwa was in good form. Yeah. I don't know how this guy gets elected to a small town mayorship. I really don't. Here's Curtis Sliwa last night about taking on Donald Trump because, this guy gave, I'm going to take on Donald Trump. I'm going to take on Donald Trump. The puppet of the Islamists and the Marxists, you're going to take on Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the president. He could crush this guy. There's a lot of things that a president can do to a city or a state. Cut 12, go.
My adversaries have decided to bump chests with President Trump to prove who's more macho. You can't beat Trump. He holds most of the cards. He's already cut federal funding for Medicaid, for the SNAP program, and is threatening to cut funds for NYCHA. So if you're all of a sudden going to get adversarial, you're going to lose. And who gets hurt? The people of New York City. With Trump, it's always the art of the deal. You have to go, you have to try to negotiate, whether it's with his minions or himself. He'll want you to give in order to get a little bit. But if you immediately act like you're going to take him on, like, it's going to be a one-on-one fight, we're going to lose. All the people in New York City are going to lose. You have to be able to show respect. And I think if you show respect, you'll get respect, and you'll protect the New Yorkers who are so desperately in need of federal funds. What's the good of it? They'll bump chests with Donald Trump. They won't get the money, and then they'll blame Donald Trump. I will negotiate with Donald Trump and try to get the best deal possible for our poor and indigent citizens.
Boy, oh boy. Sounds good to me. How about you, Mr. Producer? I've always liked Curtis. Curtis is a good man. Really and truly. The city's not even Democrat anymore. City's, so many of the residents are lunatics. They just are, no offense. I want to spend a little time discussing with you healthcare. It's a boring subject for most people until your bills come in, right? Until you can't get the doctor you want, until you can't get into the hospital you want to get into. And all of you people who are on so-called the Affordable Care Act find it utterly unaffordable. It's a lie. It's nothing about affordability in the Affordable Care Act, just like there's nothing about affordability in this moron Mamdani's race. The radical left, the Marxists, the Islamists, it's not about affordability with them. It's about centralization. It's about control, and that's not affordable. In addition to losing your civil liberties. Not one of these communist socialist states is affordable. They take away your benefits. They tell you what you can and cannot do, even if it comes down to life or death. That's why people in Canada leave Canada to try to get to the United States for health care. That's why people in Britain leave Britain and try and get to the United States for health care. But the Democrat Party wants to mimic what's in Canada and what's in Britain. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about this with you, as I will on Saturday's Life, Liberty, and Levin, but I want to talk about it with you a little bit in advance and just give you a taste of this. This so-called government shutdown, why did the Democrats do this? For a number of reasons. Number one, they do in fact want to continue, as under Biden, but Trump ended it, to give Medicaid benefits, extraordinary benefits, to illegal aliens. And that would include any illegal alien, including illegal aliens who have murdered, raped, assaulted. Doesn't matter. And the way they do this, when you see this guy, Senator Coons, he's on TV, he's speaking over the hosts. He's saying it's illegal under our law to give these benefits to illegal aliens. It's illegal. It's illegal. And they cite the section. So how do they get around that, Mr. Producer? Well, what did Mamdani say about reducing crime? He wants to eliminate misdemeanors. So people who commit crimes, but they're no longer misdemeanors, are no longer criminals. So what did Biden do and the Democrats do? They set up these phony programs where they not only allowed illegal aliens who came into our country illegally, but illegal aliens they brought into the country to get jobs. Some of them to get what they call parole. Some of them can have a 5-year status without fear of deportation. They twisted our immigration laws. They applied them in a way that they were never supposed to be applied, where millions and millions of people who are here illegally in the Biden regime were not to be deported because they were to be treated at least quasi-legally. Well, guess what? Those people were going on Medicaid. Because even though the law says they're illegal, the Biden regime says they're not. By changing words, by changing definitions in the application. Donald Trump and the Republicans come in and they say, no, we're not doing that anymore. The immigration law is the immigration law. We're not using semantics. Whether they're on parole, whether they have work permits or what have you, that shouldn't have been given to them because the prior regime, the Democrats, actually were unlawful in the application of the immigration rules. We're eliminating it. And so the Democrats are saying the fact that their big, better bill, or whatever they call it, would reverse everything that Trump has done, who reversed everything that Biden had done. The Democrats are saying it's illegal to give benefits to illegal aliens. We're not saying you should, and yet they are. And see, this is how they lie. This is how they deceive. So the millions of illegal aliens whose nomenclature they changed, who are still illegal aliens, deportable. But they wouldn't deport them because they gave them these phony statuses. Trump stripped the varnish off, said, no, you're out of here and you're not getting these benefits. And the Democrats said, oh, yes, they are getting these benefits. So they're blackmailing you and me. They're blackmailing the president and the Republicans. They're blackmailing certain federal employees, military personnel, TSA personnel, FAA personnel. They're blackmailing them all, and they're saying, well, unless you agree to give the illegal aliens Medicaid, we're not voting to open that 17% of the government. So the Republicans come back and say, why don't we at least have a vote? We'll have a simultaneous vote, pretty simultaneous. We'll vote for the continuing resolution, then we'll have a vote on your subsidy. They said, no, we want the outcome. You must give us what we're demanding, not just a vote. But it's even worse. That's just on illegal aliens. How does this affect you personally? Other than paying for illegal alien health care that you can't get. Obamacare was passed 12 years ago. It's a disaster. It's a complete failure. People on Obamacare get second-rate health care. They can't see the doctors they want to see. They can't go to the hospitals on time where they want to go. They can't get the medicines they want. And yet the premiums are extraordinarily high. And the subsidies by the federal government are enormous. And it got worse during the pandemic. Listen to this. It's important. What they did is they increased the subsidies. So it's anybody at the poverty level times 4. Poverty level times 4. They increased the subsidies for those people. And guess what they did? They lifted the cap to include people who are well beyond the poverty level plus 4. Plus 4 means, okay, let's say the poverty level is 15,000 times 4, 60,000. That's what it means, plus 4. Well, they took the cap off. And now we're subsidizing, or you're subsidizing, people who make significantly more than that. Now, what has this done to the system? The addition of the illegal aliens, plus the destruction that Obamacare is causing medical prices to skyrocket because of the pressure on supply and demand. It's causing the hospital stays to skyrocket. It's causing doctors' costs, which they pass on to us, to skyrocket. You have a huge influx of millions of people who are paying absolutely nothing. You're paying for it. People coming through the Obamacare system. Remember, Obamacare was going to cut premiums $2,500 a year for all of us? Obamacare now is increasing at such a high rate, it's well beyond the inflation in the entire healthcare system. So Obamacare is imploding. And the Democrats are saying, increase the subsidies, don't eliminate the people over poverty 4 times. In other words, keep in place the pandemic level, massively increase the subsidies to hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. So they want to expand it and increase it while it's imploding. The Republicans are saying, no, we got to fix this thing. We can't fix it right now. We got to go through the appropriations process. All these higher premiums are going to kick in about a month. And the Democrats are saying, screw you. You either do what we tell you to do, or that's the way it is. And we're going to count on the media blaming you. They all voted for Obamacare, every single Democrat. They all voted to expand Obamacare during the pandemic. They don't want to pull it back from pandemic levels. They want to expand it beyond pandemic levels. And they want to bring the illegal aliens back into the system. Plus hundreds of billions more than that, up to $1.5 trillion. That's what they're doing. That's what they want to do to you. And they're going to destroy Medicare, Medicaid, employee insurance programs, because they're pushing the cost of health care through the roof. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
There's a reason I'm proud to say Pure Talk is my wireless company, because they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk, especially when it comes to supporting our veterans. This month, Pure Talk is choosing to support Canines for Warriors, an incredible organization that rescues and trains dogs, then pairs them with veterans struggling with PTSD. These are men and women who serve with honor, but when they come home, that brotherhood and support network they had in the military too often disappears. Canines for Warriors steps up to fill the gap, giving these heroes purpose, companionship, and healing. That's exactly why Pure Talk, a veteran-led company, supports them. Choose a wireless company that shares your values, and with talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, you could also be saving a ton of money. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch today. Again, go to puretalk.com/LEVIN and switch to America's wireless company, my wireless company, Pure Talk. So the Democrats, if they get their way, they're going to blow the budget, the ceiling off. Inflation will never return to the levels it should. It'll be forever high. And that's possible, you know. That's how you had the Weimar Republic. The Democrats just don't care. We have to care. They don't care. They'll blow the lid off Medicaid. Medicaid can't withstand this. The effect will be felt in Medicare as the prices increase, and so the services are going to have to be reduced or limited. And same with the prescription drug programs many of you have. And also what they're trying to do is still eliminate the employee insurance programs. They're trying to force employers to push employees into Obamacare, which is a disaster. So the Democrats have created this whole thing. And now they're holding hostage, or they're blackmailing the Republicans and the president and we the people, as well as the people they're supposed to represent in the bureaucracy. That we either blow up the budget, massively increase inflation, blow up our healthcare system, including other healthcare products like Medicare and your private healthcare, centralize more healthcare by eliminating your employee health care through the back door, and then amnesty through the back door without deporting illegal aliens. That's why they're setting up these surveillance systems and everything else. This is a massive play by the Democrats to destroy this country and to replace it with a centralized, iron-fisted government, centralized economy, as Mamdani talks about, economic socialism. That's what's going on right now. This is what this fight is all about. I'll be right back. There's a reason I'm proud to say Pure Talk is my wireless company, because they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk, especially when it comes to supporting our veterans. This month, Pure Talk is choosing to support Canines for Warriors, an incredible organization that rescues and trains dogs, then pairs them with veterans struggling with PTSD. These are men and women who serve with honor, but when they come home, that brotherhood and support network they had in the military too often disappears. Canines for Warriors steps up to fill the gap, giving these heroes purpose, companionship, and healing. That's exactly why Pure Talk, a veteran-led company, supports them. Choose a wireless company that shares your values, and with talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, you could also be saving a ton of money. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch today. Again, go to puretalk.com/LEVIN and switch to America's wireless company, my wireless company, Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
We're flying, baby. Think about this. Everything precious in the Christian faith came through the Holy Land. We've talked about Shiloh. We've talked about the city of David. We've talked about Jerusalem and the two temples. The promises God made to Abraham. Abraham buried in Hebron. Right there in the Holy Land. The covenants he established. The law that shows us his character. The prophets who spoke his words. The Christian gospel message, all of it, every bit of it, came through the Holy Land and the Jewish people. And standing with Israel, we, Jews and Christians, celebrate our shared roots, and the enduring legacy of God's work through his chosen people. And through their faithfulness, often in the face of great adversity, they've been instrumental in bringing the knowledge of God to the world. When you support the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, you're not just helping people in need, you're honoring those who gave us our spiritual foundation. This is very, very important. You're saying thank you to the people who preserved God's word for us and fight to preserve it every single day. That's literally what they're doing there. Stand with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Discover the top reasons why Christians all over the world support Israel by visiting Levin for the Fellowship.org. That's Levin for the Fellowship.org. Levin for the Fellowship.org. Okay, I want to take us somewhere. Stick with me. Hold on. You know, people write me, so it moves things out of order. I want to read something to you. I've got to find it first. Let's see here. Bear with me. Nope. I'm going through my stuff right now. Nope. I'll find it. I'll have to use it later. A little out of order. Actually, it's right here, the Daily Mail. Of all places. It's by Sophie Gable. This is when Christianity will be toppled as a religious majority in America, as Islam rises. It's an article in the Daily Mail that I want to discuss with you, probably next hour when we have a little bit more time, if we can. This is something I'm gravely concerned about. You know, I wrote in On Power that all other faiths owe a great debt of credit, a great debt to the Christian faith, to the Christian people. The United States of America was founded on Judeo-Christian principles and values. The majority faith in the colonies, in the United States, the United Colonies of America, overwhelmingly Christian, even more so than today, for sure. I wrote about this in Liberty and Tyranny. I wrote about it in On Power because it needs to be stressed and underscored. Christians and Christianity, a very tolerant people, a very tolerant faith. Christianity, like Judaism, does not impose its faith on people. There's proselytizing, you know, there's promoting, there's that sort of thing, but there's no imposition. Our way or you're dead. Our way or you lose your land. Our way or you're tortured. Our way or the highway. That doesn't mean Christians don't believe strongly in their faith, or Jews don't believe strongly in their faith, or other faiths, same thing. But there's this link that I talked about to the Enlightenment. And when you look at your country, America is your country. It's our country. It belongs to us. It doesn't belong to any other ideological group. It belongs to us, we the people. What is so extraordinary about the United States, and unfortunately most politicians don't understand it, certainly the Democrats don't give a crap, is this fusion of Judeo-Christian values with the Enlightenment. the notion of God-given rights, individual liberty, natural law, that is, there are certain things that are just eternally true, and the ability to reason in order to understand and to embrace these things. With the Enlightenment, we talk about John Locke here, Montesquieu, others. And what's that all about? The Enlightenment recognizes this Judeo-Christian belief system, but it also recognizes what God recognized, what the Bible recognizes. Man has a very dark side, too. A very dark side. And so we believe in individual liberty, we believe in rights, that men and women should be as free as possible. But we also know there needs to be constraints. Well, how do we do this? Well, Locke told us, and Montesquieu told us more. And others told us more, too. Power, this idea of power, because government's about power. That's what it's about. What kind of power? Who exercises power? How do people come to power? So forth and so on. That's why your Constitution is such a beautiful document. It's a complicated document in some respects, very simple in others. But this whole idea of checks and balances, separation of powers, federalism, crucially important. Power checking power, Montesquieu. A judicial, an executive, presidential, Montesquieu. Really, Locke, who talked about it in a more general way. Aristotle touched on it too. Cicero touched on it too. Very, very important. Just as your faith is very, very important. Everything I just told you is rejected by Islamists and Marxists. It's all rejected. Marx mocked the Declaration. He mocked the Constitution. He mocked Locke, Montesquieu, the founders of America. He mocked them. And so if you're a Marxist, you reject the entire experiment, the United States, America, the experiment. You reject it. And that's Mamdani, and that's many of the leaders of the Democrat Party. Absolutely reject. If you're Islamist, and you don't believe in Reformation, and you don't believe in the Enlightenment, you reject it too. The imposition of Sharia law. That is the combination of religious mandates. And I don't mean broadly speaking. I mean the Quran is filled with specific edicts, one after another, that those are to be imposed on society. Even more, according to the Islamists, those who refuse to adopt it, embrace it, and preach it are to be eliminated, removed. Or the faith cannot prosper, or you're not doing God's will. So you can see Marxism and this notion of fundamentalism, Islamism, are incompatible with the Judeo-Christian belief system, with the Declaration and the Constitution, and the Enlightenment. They're incompatible. I am preaching this. I'm trying to persuade people. I'm trying to educate people virtually every night here on TV, on digital TV. I'm constantly trying to get people to wrap their heads around this. That this isn't just a political battle. It's not just a cultural battle. This is a battle over our very survival as a free people. So I'm not going to read you the article. I'll just tell you what it says, and I'll tell you what I say. The reason why the Islamists keep attacking Israel is to wipe out the Jews, to wipe out the holy sites, to wipe out the history, to wipe out the Christian holy sites, to take over Bethlehem, Hebron, which they have taken over, to take over and destroy Jerusalem. So when people say, you can't annex the West Bank, They're telling Jews they can't be Jews. Essentially, that's what they're saying. They don't know they're saying it, but that's what they're saying. Timing is everything. I think what the Knesset did, I think the left wing in the Knesset that pulled this stunt, and it is a stunt today, they knew it wasn't going to get anywhere. But the Jewish people, the Christian people, all people, we all march on, regardless of governments, regardless of administrations, regardless of any of it. You have your faith. Christianity in the United States is the biggest problem for the Marxist Islamists. It's not Judaism. Judaism is low-hanging fruit. There's just not a lot of us. There's not a lot of us. And the time will come in the next year, 2, 3, or 5, when the Islamists outnumber the Jews, and they will outvote the Jews, as they've done in Europe, and they have an enormous impact. And the Democrat Party knows it, which is why they've turned on Israel, which is why they did nothing about anti-Semitism under Biden, which is why they're embracing the most radical elements in Islam. Not the moderates, the most radical elements. That's what they foresee. And when that time comes, the target's going to be Christianity. Because the Jews won't be an issue anymore. You take out the Christians, you take out the Jews. And whether some Christians believe it or not, or some Jews believe it or not, we are viewed as attached at the hip. And I think we are. And so for the Islamists, in order to conquer the West, you need to conquer the Jews, but even more, you need to conquer the Christians. The Christians throughout Europe and the Christians in the United States. You're the ultimate target. This is part of a problem. That when you have people who are sort of fake Christians, who are podcasters, who keep attacking Jews, keep attacking Israel, they're doing the dirty work for the Islamists. That's why I tell you, stop following these people. Stop paying to listen to them. These are bad people doing bad things, and you're going to regret it one day. It'll just be too late. When you keep trashing Israel, which is literally militarily fighting this movement that's trying to wipe them out, but they want to wipe out all the Christian sites too, and you'll notice they've wiped out all the Christians. Not a lot of Christians left in the Middle East. What happened to them? And what is happening to them in Syria, in Egypt, but not in Israel? We're attached at the hip. This is what Pastor Hagee continues to preach. Others continue to talk about. It's very, very important. The Christians are the target. Ultimately, the Christians are the target. Everything I've just discussed with you, by the way, is in On Power. But since I know everybody's not going to buy it, I felt compelled to convey this. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
There's a reason I'm proud to say Pure Talk is my wireless company, because they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk, especially when it comes to supporting our veterans. This month, Pure Talk is choosing to support Canines for Warriors, an incredible organization that rescues and trains dogs, then pairs them with veterans struggling with PTSD. These are men and women who serve with honor, but when they come home, that brotherhood and support network they had in the military too often disappears. Canines for Warriors steps up to fill the gap, giving these heroes purpose, companionship, and healing. That's exactly why Pure Talk, a veteran-led company, supports them. Choose a wireless company that shares your values, and with talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, you could also be saving a ton of money. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch today. Again, go to puretalk.com/LEVIN and switch to America's wireless company, my wireless company, Pure Talk. The congressional leaders said we're barreling toward the longest governmental shutdown in history. As the stalemate continues, it clearly is the Democrat Party strategy. I mean, the majorities the Republicans have are minuscule. They did pass the continuing resolution in the House. Problem is in the Senate, you've got the filibuster rule. You need 60 votes. They got 55 votes today, where Senator Johnson said, okay, well, let's at least fund military personnel, TSA personnel, FAA personnel, and a few others that are in these crucial slots. Democrats said no. Vote was 55 to 45. So, have I jumped ahead, Mr. Producer? Am I doing okay here? Usually I get behind, you see. But not this time. When we come back, I want you to hear what some of these Democrats have to say about the so-called government closure. I also want you to hear what the Speaker of the House has to say, because he's been absolutely brilliant. He's under attack by Marjorie Taylor Greene. If Marjorie Taylor Greene wasn't in a safe Republican district, they'd throw her out on her ass, her substantial ass. She's trashing Trump every step of the way, trashing conservatives every step of the way, trashing Israel, Jews every step of the way, trashing Americans every step of the way, and yet she wraps herself in America first. Isn't that lovely? She's not America first, she's America last.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Mike Johnson today, who's doing a superb job, in my view. Absolutely outstanding. Dealing with this shutdown. Cut one. Go, please.
They don't want you to look at the facts. They don't want you to look at the paperwork that they themselves filed as the counterproposal. And they refuse to admit that this entire shutdown is one big political game to satisfy the radical Marxist base of their party. But that is exactly what is going on. And I want to be absolutely clear about this. Democrats would not have shut the government down this time if their political careers did not depend on it. And that is not some Republican talking point. That is the objective truth. If it wasn't already abundantly clear, the number 2 Democrat in the House yesterday openly admitted to that fact. Catherine Clark is the House Democrat whip. She works right under Hakeem Jeffries as the number 1 Democrat, and she was in an interview and she said to one of your colleagues sitting here on the front row, quote, "Of course there will be families that are going to suffer, but this is one of the few leverage times we have," unquote. It's shocking to hear them say that out loud. By her own admission, she knows that the American people are suffering. Democrats know that millions of federal workers are desperate for their paychecks. They know that thousands of flights have been delayed. They know that SNAP benefits and nutrition assistance for women, infants, and children are in jeopardy for millions of American families. And yet, they don't seem to care. But you know what? Take heart, America. Take heart. Because all your suffering is for a good cause. It's for the Democrats' political leverage. That's what the number 2 Democrat said here yesterday. It is utterly shameful.
And that's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what else is going on. You have Nancy Pelosi, who's made a serious threat against ICE agents. Police might arrest ICE agents who violate California law. Local police have no authority over federal law enforcement, none whatsoever, and yet they're literally pushing this nullification Confederacy ideology right to the edge. So can you imagine if the local police departments, say in a police department in San Francisco, they're armed, they have riot police, they have others, who confront ICE, who are backed up by the National Guard? Look at what she's proposed. She's an old Confederate. That's what she is. She's a buffoon. But she's not the only one. The Attorney General of New York is as dumb as she looks, and she looks dumb. No, not because of her race, because of her look. She looks dumb. A lot of white people look dumb, too. Matter of fact, Pelosi's one of them. Nonetheless, here she is. And she's talking about a tracker. We're going to track who these ICE people are. We're going to give the information out, endangering them. Endangering them. This is the insanity. Then you have Pritzker, that fat slob. Okay, he's as dumb as he looks, maybe even dumber. No, he looks pretty dumb. He keeps pushing out the suggestion that you get in the face of ICE and so forth. So the Democrats are very violent. They're getting their militia out there. You've got their supporters out there talking about arming themselves. And, of course, the media say nothing. They say absolutely nothing. You got Hakeem Jeffries out there who's attacking Mike Johnson for creating a violent atmosphere. Hakeem Jeffries, another moron. They're loaded with morons over in that party. But they don't tell you the truth about what this fight is over. They don't tell you the truth about what they're doing. So they have a master ICE tracker they've created to warn illegal aliens about ICE's activity. This is a Democrat party. Pelosi talking about armed local police to take on the feds. Pritzker saying as much about the citizens in Illinois. What do you think about that? And they create these dangerous scenarios. They know there's been an assassination of Charlie Kirk. They know there have been attempts on President Trump. They know all this is going on, and yet they still conduct themselves the way they do. Specifically, reports of a planned mass immigration raid in the Bay Area are an appalling abuse of law enforcement power, Pelosi said in a statement. Broad sweeps that target families and terrorize law-abiding residents, betray our nation's values, and waste resources that should focus on real threats to public safety. So she and her party and her ilk have created this scenario, and what they're saying is don't enforce our immigration laws. We let all these people in, now leave them alone. It's important to note that California law, she says, protects communities and prevents federal agents from taking certain actions here that we have witnessed in other states. While the president may enjoy absolute immunity courtesy of the rogue Supreme Court, listen how she talks. That decision in the court covers Democrats, too. Those who operate under his orders do not. Our state and local authorities may arrest federal agents if they break California law, and if they are convicted, the president cannot pardon them. I don't know what lawyer's giving her advice, but she's dumb as a doorknob. Dumb as a doorknob. People of San Francisco, she says, will continue to stand with the patriotic immigrants who are constantly reinvigorating America. The patriotic illegal aliens, you see, unlike ICE, unlike the National Guard. She is sick. Absolutely sick. Honestly, what is she, in her mid-80s? She's no longer the speaker. Her husband was almost killed. I mean, if it were my wife, God forbid, and I had been in Pelosi's position, that'd be the end. I'd give it up. I'd go home and I'd stay with my wife and my family. Not her. Not her. She can't stand not having power and the trappings of power. She can't stand it. Being quoted by the media and so forth. She's a nut. This tracker that I'm talking about, this is no joke. David Strom at Hot Air. Insane. Democrats to create master ICE tracker to warn illegal aliens about ICE activity. It's incredible. Senate Democrats aren't satisfied yet with the amount of violence directed at ICE and CPB agents, so they're planning to create what they call a master ICE tracker to warn illegal aliens about ICE activity. They are so embedded with the illegal aliens. They need those birthright citizenship kid votes when they get older. They need the illegal aliens. They brought them here for a reason. They need a gerrymander based on how many foreigners are in this country. This is a country that hates America. I wrote the book, The Democrat Party Hates America. Some people say, well, that's really over the top. It's not over the top. In fact, it's understated. Assaults on ICE agents have skyrocketed by 1,000%. 1,000%. The violence directed at them, has escalated. From throwing Subway sandwiches to taking pot shots at them to ramming cars into them. They're shooting at them. They're shooting at them. Ethically, this is appalling. Morally, it's implicit aid. People committing violence. Politically, it seems like it wouldn't make sense until you dig a little deeper. Democrats have been trying to escape the accusation that they have shut down the government because they want to provide health insurance to illegal aliens, and in polls, the Democrats are on the losing side of that issue. On its face, you'd think that going too far out on a limb, choosing the side of illegal aliens over law enforcement, would not be where they want to go. But with their base, which is this case is mainly the AWFL's illegal immigration, is a big issue. It's more than that. They are developing this for 5, 10, 15 years down the road. That's what they're doing. Between the Marxist Islamist ideology and the illegal aliens, look at New York. We read yesterday, and I underscored it today, Mamdani's strongest support comes from migrants. Legal aliens. Legal. 62%. 62%. Citizens born in America, 40% support Cuomo. 30-some% support Mamdani. So there's a big difference. The Democrat Party has destroyed immigration. It's destroyed deportation. It's destroyed the vetting process. It's destroyed assimilation because they want these people bowing down to the Democrat Party, owing allegiance to the Democrat Party. That's what they want. Now, will this work? It'll work over time. I mean, if President Trump wasn't in there trying to fight all this now, all a government war against what the Democrats are doing, it'd be over. We'd be closer to Britain and France right now than ever. And these are failing democracies, parliamentary democracies, failing. They're collapsing. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Sean Duffy, he's a great transportation secretary, a great NASA administrator, great. I guess he has about like 14 other jobs, but they're all difficult, very complicated. He had a press conference today as well. And by the way, this guy, John Carl, apparently has written a book, which is one of these gossip books about what's going on in the cabinet, who's fighting who among cabinet officials and sub-cabinet officials and at the White House. That's not journalism. That's a punk. That's a punk. That's a gossip writer. And really, ABC needs to upgrade. It really needs to upgrade because these people are pathetic. Pathetic. But here's Sean Duffy. Cut 2, go.
I do think in the Democrat senators' hearts, they want to vote to open the government up. They don't want to hurt the American people. But we've seen they have a radical base, a base that's out of control. And if they vote to open up the government, what's going to happen is they are going to be primaried. They are going to be attacked. Maybe their funding might dry up. And so this shutdown is not about the American people, not about the pain that America experiences because of the shutdown. This is because Democrats are concerned about their own hide, and they've sold the country to the most radical element of their country. And I think that's really shameful. It's too bad.
Now, I want you to hear, I told you about this person. He's a teacher in Los Angeles, Ron Gochez, Gochez, at a rally Tuesday. Of course, he should be fired, but he may actually be promoted given the fact that it's the L.A. school system. I want you to listen to him in South Central Los Angeles on Tuesday at a rally. Cut 6, go.
Don't forget where you're standing. This is South Central Los Angeles. They are not the only ones with guns in this city. They're not the only ones, and don't forget that. And I don't say that because we're calling for violence. I'm saying that because the people have every right to defend themselves against masked, unidentified gunmen.
What do you think of that, folks? And we know his name. They have his face. He needs to be rounded up, and he needs to go to prison. Because if something happens, particularly in a result of what he says, or he does something, what are we going to do? Wring our hands and say, how did this happen? I mean, enough is enough. That's not free speech. That's a threat. Then we have the executive director of the National Immigrant Justice Center, so you can imagine how radical left they are. All these people come into our country, right? And it's as if we're the ones creating injustice for them. Well, why the hell are they coming here? You want to know why? Because we're saps. We're suckers. That's why. We're saps. We're suckers. We have clowns like the one you heard. Clowns in the Democrat Party. They will steal your bank account, these Democrats, in order to fund their constituents. They don't give a damn. And no matter Donald Trump winning in a massive landslide election, they don't care about that either. Here's Mary Meg McCarthy, Executive Director of the National Immigrant Justice Center, at a press conference today. Cut 7, go.
Since January, all immigrant neighbors have become vulnerable targets of the Trump administration.
No, that's not right. Is she awake? I think she's awake. She okay? No, if you're an illegal alien, you're not supposed to be here. And I know it's very weird to enforce the law, but that's the law. President swore to uphold the law. It's in the Constitution. Even if you don't agree with the law, you have to enforce it. Go ahead.
Awful and inhumane deportation scheme. Reminiscent of my experience living in Chile in the 1980s.
Ah, shut up, you idiot. Has nothing to do with Chile. You moron. Has nothing to do with Augusto Pinochet. It's called our immigration laws. You got your ass in this country, didn't you? Now you're running some group, Immigration Rights. Yes, the Immigration Justice Center. Excuse me, it's the Justice Center. You know, like Students for Justice in Palestine. Oh, yeah. The word reform used to be the reform all the commies use. Now it's justice. Oh, we want justice. If you're here illegally, you're not supposed to be here. That should be obvious. That's not news to anybody. But you have an entire, massive, heavily funded infrastructure now in this country, an entire Democrat Party leadership with enormous resources that want the immigration laws violated, that want to change the population in this country, that want to change the voting outcomes in this country, that want to change the congressional districts in this country, that want to change our economic system in this country, and they'll take anybody. Not the best and the brightest. They'll take Islamists, they'll take Hamas, they'll take whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. That's where we're going with this. Go ahead, please.
I worked as a human rights witness in Santiago.
Okay, good for you. Good for you. Santiago, Chile. Like it has something to do with today in America. She was a witness. But meanwhile, she wound up in the United States of America, and she creates this left-wing group, National Immigrant Justice Center. It should be National American Citizen Justice Center, don't you think, Mr. Producer? We're the ones getting screwed all over the place, you and I. Mr. and Mrs. America, we're paying for everything. And not just paying for everything, but living the consequences of this. Increased crime. And then, of course, the executive director of the National Immigrant Justice Center, I'm sure she's very worried about all those women who are missing that were sold into sex slavery and pornography. I'm sure that's number one on her list. I'm sure she's very worried about all those unaccompanied minors, 300,000 of them who are missing. Oh, yeah. The Democrats talk about them every day, don't they? Never. Their media talk about them every day, don't they? Never. The inhumanity of the Pritzkers and the Newsoms, the inhumanity of the Democrat Party is never, ever highlighted by the media because they're a bunch of inhuman imbeciles, too. I'll be right back.
Some people talk about the Tea Party. We are the Tea Party. Call in now. 877-381-3811.
Mikey, Oh, it's a woman, excuse me. Democrat Representative Mikey Sherrill wants to be your governor, New Jersey. She skipped 145 House votes as New Jersey governor's race heats up. 145. This woman is horrendous at every level. You can't tell you how she made $7 million. If she can't tell you how she made $7 million, something's very wrong, even corrupt perhaps. She can't tell you why she was told not to participate in the graduation ceremony. I believe it was at the Naval Academy. That's a big deal. That is a very big deal. She'll continue to drive up the cost of electricity, which is crazy in New Jersey. I happen to know it. My mother-in-law has a home there. It is nuts. And the taxes are completely out of control, especially the property taxes. And she has no intention of cutting them. Now, Mikey Sherrill, as reported here by Fox News, has the greatest number of missed votes of any lawmaker in the House of Representatives of the United States by a wide margin as she wages a tightening bid to become New Jersey's next governor. New Jersey, you can do better than this. She has no entry in 145 of the House's votes since the 119th Congress began on January 3rd, accounting for 53% of the measures put to the chamber. She hasn't voted, no entry in 145 of the House's votes since, so in half a year. In half a year, she's missed 145. Now, look, she lives in New Jersey. It's not that far from Washington, D.C. It's not like she's in Montana or Nevada or Oregon or Washington State or California or no, she's in New Jersey. You can hop on the Acela and you're in Washington, D.C. She can hop on the Acela in Newark, Elizabeth. I've taken that train multiple times. It's actually a very nice ride. Sherrill has no entry. The second closest member, Donald Norcross, Democrat, New Jersey, has missed 83 votes. The record of absences stands out, even when stacked up against other candidates who have pursued statewide office in recent years. When asked about that record, Sean Higgins, communication director for Sherrill's campaign, said the Congresswoman is working to represent the state wherever possible. Okay, all the BS. All the BS. Of course, they're bringing in all the heavyweights. Obama, who destroyed your health care system. Buttigieg, who destroyed your FAA system without fixing it. What other heavyweights are they bringing? They could bring Letitia James. She's a real heavyweight, I would say, Mr. Producer. Gerald Nadler, despite his procedure, he's a heavyweight, too. Meaning not. All right, here. Let's see. I guess we should go to some callers here. I think we will. Hold on, I'm working on it, folks. Working on it. I'm sorry, folks. I meant to get to the calls, but apparently we're having problems emailing me. And I don't know why. I'm getting emails from everybody else in the world. But you're working on it, right, Ron? Okay, they are. Well, I would try this. Try your personal email. That might break through. There may be some kind of block going on that's thrown it to junk mail, that sort of thing. I feel like I owe it to the callers because I urged them to call. So the case against Adam Schiff, according to the media, has stalled. Somebody's leaking in there. I'm sure they're bureaucrats. Oh, yes, it's stalled. Well, I don't know why it's stalled. To me, it's a open and shut case. Open and shut case. I guess we'll find out down the road. If you had two primary residents, I guarantee you it wouldn't take long to throw you in the jail. That's for sure. Let's go to Glenn, Grand Rapids, Minnesota. But I think we mean Michigan. On the Mark Levin app. Are you in Michigan or are you in Minnesota?
I hope I'm not in Michigan. I'm driving home to Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Oh, you are in Minnesota.
Yeah. Fighting a blizzard here right now. No, I'm kidding.
Are you serious? No.
Okay. No, kidding. Too early. Say,
yes.
Mark, I just wanted to thank you for your bit of biblical history there earlier in the show. And then when you mentioned how Christians and Jews, I'm Christian. And I appreciate your faith as well. I have very, very many good friends. We're joined at the hip. And if you read Genesis 32, Jacob wrestled with a man all night long and came out of that wrestling match not only as a victor, but with a hip injury.
Yeah.
The man to Christians is the incarnate Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob then had his name changed to Israel after that wrestling match. So Christians and Jews were literally joined at the hip through a wrestling match.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Amazing how God works, huh?
You're a truck driver, is that right?
No, I'm a veterinarian.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're a veterinarian.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it when you have to put dogs and cats. It just breaks your heart, doesn't it? I mean, you do it because you have to.
Always. But on the other side, when you've seen the suffering of some,
no, you're right.
And like I tell people, look in their eyes. You'll know. Look in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
What's the time? What's the right
God
time?
bless you, veterinarians. I have great admiration for you. All right, brother. Thank you for everything. God bless you. All right, let's go. Let's go to Bill, Fort Calhoun, Nebraska, on the Mark Levin app. Bill, how are you?
Hi, Mark. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate your college lessons every day. I listen to you on your TV show.
Thank you.
I appreciate. I was listening to your NBA monologue first about this when you first started the show
about gambling.
And about gambling, and I just think that you start kicking some of those rocks over, there's got to be politicians that are attached to this too, because they're always on the lam with these athletes and stuff. And especially since you have an NFL team in Las Vegas, and then the news, what really piqued my interest was Elliot Pritzker gambled. He won over $1 million playing blackjack recently.
Elliot Pritzker.
I mean,
you're talking about the governor of Illinois, yeah.
Yeah. So I think
they say he gambles all the time, and he seems to always be a winner. $1.4 million. That's not a joke. I mean, that's a lot of money. You got to wonder how he pulled that off.
Yeah, there's no way you do that. Not when the House wins 60%. Mm-hmm. And so he's getting favors there somewhere.
Now, we don't know this. We're just wondering. Okay, I got to make that clear.
We're just wondering, but we're just scratching the surface. And like I said, you have NFL.
They must be giving him a lot of free dinners, if you get my drift. That guy doesn't look like he's missed a meal.
Well, there's probably a Denny's close by. But
I like Denny's. I haven't been to Denny's in years, but I like Denny's, to be honest with you.
Hey, I wanted to ask to also just thank you. Last year I got a call in, and you sent me that book, The Democrats Hate America.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome. So I really appreciate it.
All right, Bill, you take care of yourself. I appreciate everyone in Nebraska. You grow half the food that I eat. Iowa, Kansas. I don't think anybody could possibly love corn more than I do, Mr. Producer. And bread. I eat bread like dessert, which is not healthy, really. Unless you eat the grainy bread, but I can't eat grainy bread when I'm cracking my teeth on the grain. That I can't do. I don't like grainy stuff and nuts in my food. Leave it alone. But what would I do without wheat? What would I do without corn? I'd be in trouble. Big, big trouble. That's the truth. All right, let's keep moving here. Deborah, you're in Maine, Mid-Coast Maine.
Yeah,
it's starting to get cold up there. How are you?
No, it's beautiful here, Mark. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
You know, I'm a huge fan right from the beginning of your time.
Thank you.
We would be lost. I would be lost without you. And I certainly hope that everyone else appreciates you as much as I do. I told you the last time I called in that it was thanks to a veteran that served 12 years in the
Uh-oh. Do we have her number by any chance? Probably not. Deborah, call back. I don't know what happened. But I think if I had to guess, it's the communist Chinese or the fascistic Russians. If I had to guess. Or just a screw up. All right, Deborah, you're back. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
No worries. No, I just was saying that the veteran that I volunteered for years that was homeless once he came home and lost everything to the court system, the crooked, corrupt court system in North Carolina. He's the one that turned me on to you like years and years ago, like 18 years ago. So I'm always like just so glad that I have someone that I can listen to and know I'm listening to facts. Because I'm a constitutionalist myself, and what's going on right now, it's, you know what, 20 years ago, it used to be like maybe once a week we would have something major to talk about. Then 10 years ago, it was like maybe 3 times a week. Now it's like
3 times a day.
There's not enough days, there's not
exactly.
enough hours, there's not enough months, there's not enough years to keep up with everything.
No, we have a real enemy within. We really do. And it hates the Constitution, which means it hates we the people. Look, you're fantastic. I always appreciate your call. God bless you, my friend. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Welcome back, folks. We don't have a lot of time left. Let's go to Chris, Fredericksburg, Virginia, on the Levin app. How are you, Chris?
Doing well, Mr. Levin. How about you this evening?
I'm okay. Thank you, buddy.
Good. Glad to hear it. I thought it'd be fun to share. I heard everybody else's little origin stories about how they first heard about you. I actually stumbled upon your radio show about 6 months ago by accident. I turned on my car, and the radio happened to be on, and I don't recall what you were talking about, but I'm like, this guy makes sense. Like, let me continue to listen. So, fairly new fan compared to the other callers, but I've got your books on my Amazon wish list after this shutdown finishes up. I've got American Marxism, Democrat Party Hates America, and On Power all on my wish list. So,
aren't you nice?
Big fan
Thank
already.
you, buddy. Thank you very much.
But I want to call and talk about how you made that statement before and how we've learned that the shutdown is being used as a bargaining chip, basically, or they're digging their heels in on it. It's interesting to think about the repercussions of that. There's a movie called Dodgeball and that came out in 2006 or so, where one of the commentators said, bold strategy, Cotton, let's see if it pays off for them. Because, you have all this shutdown going now.
Well, let me ask you something. It says here you're a government worker. You work for the federal government. Do you think what the Democrats are doing is going to help them with federal workers?
That's what I find most interesting. I don't think so at all, because the snowball effect that's going to happen from all this, considering it's been coming through, if people end up having families and, if they both happen to be federal workers, missing out on a mortgage payment, then all of a sudden that balloons into November, and next thing you know, December is looking real rough for families.
But they don't seem to care. I mean, they put out a vote today on the table for just military personnel, TSA and FAA, and they voted no.
Yeah, I find that so bananas that the essential, truly, like that's the hardcore essential services of the United States. And they just, like I said, dig in their heels. We will not budge. This is our tool. This is what we're going to work with.
And then you hear Fetterman, who I happen to like a lot now, I must confess. He says, look, I'm voting for the country. I'm not voting for the party. And he had an idea. I actually kind of liked it. He said, well, let's at least be able to suspend the filibuster rule for this one thing. And, of course, his party just blows him off. And then they tell him, you know what? Keep your mouth shut because we're going to challenge you in the Democrat primary in Pennsylvania. I mean, they've sort of purified their party. It's hard left. And they will burn down the bridge in order to I don't know. They'll burn down the building in order to save the building. I mean, what is the... I just think they have their own problems internally. I think ideologically they've gone way off the map. And I think this is some of the consequences you're seeing. What they're doing now is really illogical. Absolutely illogical.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's very kind of you to call. I'm sorry you're in this situation. I very much appreciate you listening. It's almost going to seem ridiculous, but Mr. Call Screener, please take down Chris's name, full name, and number, and I want to send him a signed copy of my book. It's not going to pay your mortgage, but at some point you will be able to pay it. And I want to just thank you, Chris. You sound like a very nice guy. So let's get his full name, please. Let's get his address. Let's pass it on to Rich. Thank you all. You've been great out there. Much appreciated. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers. All you folks that are suffering right now, I apologize for the Democrats. And, of course, our friends in Ukraine, our friends in Israel, and you, the American people, red-blooded Americans, where would the world be without you?